Hey guys, it's Cori. I'm a yoga instructor based in Austin, Texas, but I've actually been traveling around for the past 3 months to different places in Asia and Central America, doing yoga and teaching yoga. So yoga everywhere, which was awesome. If you ever want to hear about it, just ask. But since I've been all over the place, I don't really have a yoga home set up here in Austin where I'm teaching regularly at the moment. So I decided to film some of these videos for you guys, which is something I've been wanting to do for a while. So this is a good chance to have time to do it and actually force myself to do it. So my first time filming, bear with me, but I hope you enjoy it. And if you want to join in, thank you for watching. We'll get started down on our backs today. So coming down here, down into your Savasana, taking a moment to close your eyes. Let your palms relax, face up, down by your sides. Let your feet splay out to the edges of your mat if you're using a mat here. And just starting to settle into your breath. A lot of our poses today will be focused on grounding, since like I said, I've been all over the place. It's also coming to the end of the first month of the year. So coming back to reconnect with ourselves and our intentions for the year. It's nice to get out of the busy, hurried, anxious mind and just reconnect with the body, reconnect with the earth. And a good way to start all of that is by connecting to the breath. Now as you lie here, starting to let your inhales and your exhales flow in and out of your nose. As you inhale, imagining like there's a nice big balloon inside of your belly, filling it all the way up with air. And on your exhales, just slowly letting a long breath out. Your inhales fill you up, drawing the ribs a little wider each time. And your exhales, you might feel your lower back pull a little bit away from the floor. And everything moving really naturally, completely disengaged physically. And we bring our mind to focus in on the breath. Making another inhale to fill up. Exhaling it out the nose. And we'll fill up again through the nose. And this time letting it out of a relaxed mouth, even with a sound. We'll do that one more time. Inhaling, fill up. Exhaling to release the breath. And you're welcome to blink your eyes open or keep them closed. And start to draw the right knee up and into the chest. Giving it a squeeze in, pulling it even a little bit over to the side of your ribs. And then we'll take the knee across the body to the left side. And spread the arms out wide away from each other and take your gaze over your right shoulder. Breath is filling all the way down into the belly, so you still feel yourself expanding on your inhale. And letting your exhale stay long and relaxed. We'll take another deep inhale on this side. Exhale, letting it out. We'll come back onto your back, hugging your knee back up into your chest. And bring the left knee up, re-lengthen through the right leg. Give your left knee a squeeze, even pulling it over to the side of your rib cage. And just lengthening through your hip there. And then we'll start to cross the left knee over to the right side. Expand your arms back out wide. We'll keep the palms facing down, grounding ourselves in the practice, bringing your gaze over your left shoulder. Keeping your attention focused on your breath. Inhaling all the way down into the belly. Exhaling right back out. And take another deep breath in on this side. Exhale, staying right where you are. And then we'll come to lie back on your back. And this time we'll hug both knees into the chest, giving them a squeeze. And then however you like to get there, we'll make our way up into a tabletop position. Some prefer to rock their way up or just turn yourself over to the side. Sweep your legs around back behind and come over onto all fours. Setting your wrists right underneath your shoulders and your knees right underneath your hips. From your tabletop position, we'll start to take a few rounds of cat and cow pose. You can have your toes tucked or untucked. I like to tuck mine so I get a stretch on the bottoms of my feet. On your inhale, we'll drop down into cow pose. You'll let your belly sink down towards the floor. Lift the tailbone high. Draw your shoulders back, gazing up. On your exhale, you'll start to round into the back. Press the ground away as you arch your back like a Halloween cat, tucking your tailbone down towards the floor. Inhale, takes you back through cow pose, thinking about drawing your heart forward in between your biceps. And as you exhale, squeezing out every last drop of air as you round in, pressing all 10 finger pads down into your mat. Inhale, drawing down into cow pose. Try to bring your shoulder blades and your tailbone closer together as your chin lifts. And on your exhale, round in, tuck your chin into your chest, squeezing down into the mat. We'll take 2 more rounds of cat and cow, starting to listen to the rhythm of your own breath. And using that as an indication of how quickly or how slowly to move. After your 2 rounds, we'll meet back in a neutral spine for a couple of shoulder openers. On an inhale, we'll reach the right arm up towards the sky. Exhaling to thread it underneath the left. You'll bring your right shoulder, right side of your face, down to the mat. You can walk your left fingertips forward or even wrap your arm around your low back, tucking that left hand into the inside of your right thigh for a little extra opening in the front of the left shoulder. Reconnect to your breath here, drawing it back in between your shoulder blades, right in the upper back of your body. And we'll start to unwind, bringing the left hand back down right beside your face. Press down to reach the right arm high, inhaling here. And exhaling it down to meet your left on the mat. We'll reach the left arm up, inhale. Exhale, threading it through underneath your right. Left shoulder comes down, left side of your face. You might walk the right fingertips forward or take that wrap around your lower back. And listening to any crankiness in the shoulders. You don't have to take that wrap around your low back if it doesn't feel good. Never doing anything that doesn't feel good in your yoga practice. And we'll start to unwind. Bring your right hand back down, pressing into the earth. We'll lift the left arm high. Breathe in. Exhaling it down to meet your right hand. We'll untuck the toes. Start to sit the hips back onto the heels for a child's pose. You can also walk the knees a little wider out to the edges of your mat for more hip opening. We'll bring the forehead down to ground onto your mat. We're making it an active child's pose where you press your hands into the earth so your elbows pick up off the mat, your arms are engaged. And pressing down through your palms to bring your hips back to your heels. From your child's pose, we'll come back onto hands and knees into a tabletop position. And I come to face this way just so you can kind of see my elbows and my hands a little bit. So as we set up in a way that's safe for our shoulders in downward facing dog, you want to spread your fingers really wide so there's plenty of space between each one. Enough so that you can press down through the bottoms of your knuckles in every finger. And then you either want to have your pointer fingers or your middle fingers parallel to the outside edges of your mat, and that'll let your thumbs point in towards each other. Then imagine like you're opening two mason jars, or I guess opening one mason jar and closing another, but you're externally rotating your triceps, so the eyes of your elbows, this little area where the bending is in the inside, they come to point forward. And that'll give you a lot of extra space in your shoulders. It'll also make your shoulders more engaged and stronger as we come into a deeper yoga practice where we're doing a lot of downward facing dogs and pulling forward into plank, doing a lot of work with our shoulders. So the way you can test that is as you bend your elbows, you can see if they're bending back towards you or opening out wide in a push-up. You'll feel your shoulder girdle more engaged, your shoulders pull down your back when they can come back towards you. So, spreading your fingers wide, and that's how we set up for our downward facing dog. We'll tuck the toes under, start to lift the hips up high, lifting from your core, coming into your downward facing dog. And even in your downward facing dog, still thinking about externally rotating those triceps, making space in the back of the upper body, and letting the shoulder blades slide together down your back. Neck is long and your gaze can be looking back at your calves or your thighs, or even working its way up to the V in between your legs. Your heels don't have to reach all the way down to the floor, but they'll be reaching in that general direction. I always bring a bend into my knees, even just a tiny bend, to help reach my tailbone a little bit higher, since I have pretty tight hamstrings. And then you'll internally rotate your thighs like you could reach them out towards the back of the room. And if it's your first downward facing dog of the day, taking time to pedal out the knees or shift the hips from side to side, getting comfortable here. And then once you find a place of stillness, we'll take an inhale all together to rise up high on the tiptoes. And on your exhale, start to baby step your way all the way up to the top of your mat, bringing your feet up right behind your wrists. We'll hang out here in a forward fold, letting your arms hang down heavy, maybe grabbing hold of opposite elbows and taking a sway from side to side. And letting your neck relax, nodding your head up and down or shaking it from side to side. Letting any thoughts spill out onto the floor. Then we'll release the grip from around the elbows. Start to bend a little deeper into both knees so we can round and roll all the way up to standing. And we'll come to standing with the feet hips distance apart at the top of your mat. We'll inhale to reach both arms out and up overhead. Bring the palms together to touch. Exhale, draw your hands in toward heart center. Let your eyes come to close. Feel your thumbs press into the center of your chest. Reconnecting with your breath here. Inhale through the nose. Exhale out your mouth. Next inhale, we'll blink the eyes open. Sweep the arms out and up overhead. Reach high. On your exhale, come back down into your forward fold, bending at the knees as much as you like here. We'll inhale up to a halfway lift, bringing your hands to your shins or fingertips down on the floor. Create a really long spine. Gaze is still down at your mat. Exhale, we'll bring the belly down to the thighs. We'll plant the hands and step both feet down to the back of your mat. We'll bring the knees down, lowering all the way down to the belly, trying to keep the eyes of the elbows pointing forward and elbows tucked in by your sides. Untuck the toes back behind you. We'll rise up into cobra pose, pressing down through the tops of the feet, keeping the neck long, gazing down. Exhale down onto your belly. We'll press up through hands and knees. Sink the hips back onto your heels for a child's pose. Ground through the forehead. Feel that connection to the earth. We'll come back through hands and knees, bringing shoulders over the wrists, hips right over the knees. Tuck your toes. Start to lift from your hips, coming back into your downward facing dog. Inhale, rise up high on the tiptoes. Exhale, we'll take a little bit of time to bring our feet up behind our wrists. Inhale lifts you up halfway, flat back. Stretch the crown of your head and tailbone away from each other. Exhale, belly melts down onto your thighs. Let your head and your neck release. On your inhale, we'll come all the way up to standing, this time with a flat back. Reach your arms up overhead. Exhale, draw your hands into heart center. Keeping a tiny micro bend in your knees every time we come to standing so we don't lock out the knees. I always have a tendency to hyperextend, so keeping a tiny bend there. We'll inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale down into your forward fold. Inhale, we come to lift up halfway to a flat back. Press your hands down into your shins or your finger pads down into your mat. Exhale, fold your belly onto your thighs. Plant your hands. We'll step back. Through our plank pose, we'll lower the knees down. Unless you have an active yoga practice, then feel free to just take a plank to chaturanga. We'll bend the elbows into our sides, coming all the way down onto your belly. And take your toes back behind you. Inhale for a baby cobra, drawing your elbows back towards your heels. And lifting with the muscles of the back, so there's not a lot of weight pressing into your hands. You don't even really need them here. Exhale, down, back onto your belly. Forehead connects with the earth. We'll press up through hands and knees. Sink our hips down to the heels for a quick child's pose. Then we'll make our way up through tabletop, coming back into our downward facing dog. From your downward facing dog, we'll rise up high on the toes on an inhale. This time bend into your knees, bring your belly to your thighs, gaze forward. And if you're a hopper, you can hop your feet up behind your wrists, or we'll take a big step to bring them up there. Coming to our forward fold. This time we'll set up for chair pose, so you'll either bring your feet together with your heels a tiny bit apart, or feet can be hips distance apart. We'll sit the hips down low, bring the arms up by the ears to find our way into Utkatasana or chair pose. Looking down, making sure you can see your toes poking out underneath your knees. Tailbone points down towards the floor, gluing your ribs in towards your chest, reaching your fingers and your tailbone opposite each other. We'll inhale here. Stay for your exhale. Draw your shoulders down your back. We'll take another inhale. On your exhale, we'll sit the hips all the way down to the earth. If your knees don't like that, just come down to a seat, however feels good to you. We make our way into boat pose. So for boat pose, we can grab hold of the backs of the hamstrings. Bring your shins up to parallel. Arms can come in line with your shins, drawing your shoulder blades together, imagining like there's a string from the center of your chest, keeping your heart high. You come back to your breath. And welcome to stay up here in high boat, or on an inhale, we'll lower down to low boat. Stay for your exhale. Next inhale draws us back into high boat. Stay for your exhale. And then we'll cross at the ankles, plant the hands, we'll step back into high plank pose. You always have the option to lower your knees down to the mat here. And we'll take our first vinyasa, so you can stay up here in high plank. Lower halfway down. Remember, your knees can come down, shoulders away from your ears, shoulders don't dip below your elbows. Inhale, we'll come to our cobra just like before, or upward facing dog with your arms straight and your thighs up off the mat. And then we'll exhale back into our downward facing dog, lifting the hips up high. We'll inhale here to come up high on the toes. Exhale, bend into the knees, look forward. And we'll bring the feet up behind the wrists. Come to your forward fold. Next inhale brings us all the way up to standing. Exhale, draw your hands into heart center. From here, we'll step the left foot back to the back of your mat. You'll make your feet a little wider to the sides. So step your right foot a little right, left one a little left. And we'll lower the back heel down. We're coming into warrior one. As you reach the arms up by your ears, make sure both of your hip points are pointing forward. So hips are square to the front of your mat. Back leg is really strong. Tailbone still tucked down towards the floor so your ribs aren't splaying out. And they're tucked in. And we find our strength in warrior one here. And take another deep breath in. And then we'll start to open up into warrior two. I make my feet a little even wider apart. Whoa, slippery rug. And then make sure your heels are in line with each other. Back toes will be pointing up at about a 45-degree angle. And then your right knee will come over your right ankle. And bring the arms out wide like a T. Then drawing your shoulder blades together behind you, but your fingertips will still be stretching apart from each other. Gazing out over your right middle finger. Coming back to your breath. From here, we'll start to reach forward. Lowering the right elbow down onto the right knee for side angle. We'll reach the left arm high. Bringing your gaze up towards your top thumb. You're welcome to even extend that arm over your ear. And if this doesn't feel okay on your neck, you can always bring your gaze down towards your right toes. On our next inhale, we'll start to draw back up through our warrior two. Reverse your warrior, flipping your right palm to the sky. Left hand lowers down, reach high. Inhale into your side body stretch. And on your exhale, we'll bring the hands down around to frame the front foot. And we'll step the left foot forward to meet the right. Forward fold. From our forward fold, we'll inhale all the way up with a flat back, reaching high. Exhale, hands come into heart center. This time we'll step the right foot to the back of your mat. Same thing, making a little space between your feet so they're on train tracks instead of on a balance beam. We'll lower the back heel down. Inhale, reach the arms up by your ears. We find warrior one on this side. Remembering that your hips will be square to the front of your mat. Bringing your tailbone to point down towards the floor and sealing the outside edge of your back heel down to the mat. Find your strength here in your legs, deep bend in your front knee. We'll inhale, reach a little higher. You might bring your gaze up towards your fingers. On your exhale, we'll open up into warrior two on this side. You'll take your feet a little longer on your mat. Bring your arms out to parallel, making them really strong, but still engaging through your shoulders. Deep bend in your front knee, taking your knee over your ankle. Making sure the back toes point at a little bit of an angle up towards the front of your mat. Back leg is straight and strong. Warrior two. We'll start to reach forward through your left fingertips. Bending at the elbow, bringing your elbow down onto your knee. We'll reach the right arm high or up and over your ear. Gazing up underneath your armpit if you can, or just down at the floor. Whatever's feeling better on your neck. Make sure your breath is flowing in and out evenly. Our next inhale, we'll come back up to warrior two. We'll reverse our warrior, flipping the left palm high, right hand lowers down. Left fingertips reach up and back. Inhaling here. And on your exhale, we'll bring the hands down around to frame your front foot. We'll step the left foot to the back of your mat. Coming into high plank pose, lowering your knees down here if you need. We'll come halfway down or all the way down. Inhale to press up into cobra, just lifting the chest, or like I am, upward facing dog with the thighs up off the mat. We'll come to meet back in our downward facing dog. Nodding the head up and down, and shaking it from side to side. From your downward facing dog, we'll rise up high onto the toes, hop or step your feet up behind your wrists. We'll inhale to a flat back. Exhale back into your forward fold, and then we'll inhale to rise all the way up to standing. On your exhale, we'll sink down into our chair pose. Remember, feet can be together, our hips distance apart. Tailbone pointing down, draw your arms back in line with your ears. We'll take an inhale here. And then one of my favorite things to do, way to release a lot of anxiety and emotion. On our exhale, we'll just kind of throw everything down towards the floor and breathe out. So inhale takes us back up into our chair pose. Inhale, we reach back up. We'll do that 2 more times. And we'll inhale to rise all the way up to standing. Exhale, draw your hands into heart center, shaking out the legs if you need to. And we'll come to bring the feet together. We're setting up for tree pose here. So we'll start by grounding down into the left foot. And then you'll either bring your right foot up to kickstand up against the ankle, up to your calf, or up to your inner thigh. Any of those 3 levels, avoiding pressing right into your knee to upset the joint. And still keeping a tiny micro bend in that left knee so it's active. You might keep your hands pressed into your heart or start to grow your branches, reaching them high. And as you keep your hips square to the front of the room, also thinking about externally rotating your right knee, like you could touch the back wall behind you with your knee. Balancing pose is really good for grounding. And they teach us about creating a strong foundation, connecting to our roots, so it doesn't matter what's happening in the outside world. If everything's going crazy, we're still strong within ourselves. We have something to connect back to no matter what's going on in life. We'll take another inhale here. On your exhale, draw your hands back into your heart, taking your right foot down to meet your left. Shake it out here if you need to. We'll take it over to the other side. We'll ground down into the right foot this time. Remember your 3 variations of tree pose. Kickstand it up on your calf or all the way up into your thigh. We'll bring our hands together at heart center, and if you do struggle with balance here, you're welcome to find a wall or press your hands a little harder in toward each other. Same thing happening between your foot and your thigh, or your foot and your calf, anywhere on your standing leg. You find strength between the areas that are kind of opposing each other, opposing forces in your body. You might inhale to reach the arms higher. Let your leaves flutter in the wind, or even sway your branches. Sometimes creating a lack of balance can make us stronger in the long run. Actually, all the time. Find some expansion in your tree pose. Inhale here. And exhale, we'll bring the hands back together. Lower the left leg down with control. Shake it out here. Inhale, reach high. Exhale, down into your forward fold. Belly comes to your thighs. From your forward fold, you're welcome to take another vinyasa here, or just meet us back in downward facing dog. Whatever's feeling best for you at this point. We'll make our way back into downward facing dog. And then we'll start to walk the feet forward. This time the feet are going to come to the outsides of the hands, so you'll bend your knees to get there. You'll sink the hips down low. If this doesn't agree with your knees or your hips coming all the way down, you can always put a pillow right underneath your butt here, or if you have yoga blocks, that's always convenient too. We'll press the elbows to the insides of the knees, bring the hands together. Press your thumbs into the center of your chest. Try to make your spine really long no matter where you are. And feel some kind of hip opening. Our Malasana, Good pose for activating through the root chakra. Very grounded through your feet. And pointing your root actually down towards the ground. We'll take another breath here. And then however you want to get there, maybe using your hands along the way, we'll sit down and we'll come all the way onto our backs. Setting up for bridge pose. You'll bring the feet hips distance apart. Bringing your feet so close in towards your glutes that when you reach down you can graze the backs of your heels. Press your hands down into the mat by your sides. We'll lift up through the hips, lifting them in line with your knees and your shoulders. Try to avoid looking left or right once you get up in your bridge pose. You're just looking straight up at the ceiling or down your body. And then option to interlace your hands underneath your low back. Tuck your shoulders underneath you. Reach your chest up towards the sky. Totally optional there. Imagine like there was a block in between your thighs and you're squeezing into it. So your thighs won't come together. There's still space between them, but you feel them activating. And you press down into your feet to lift a little bit higher. Inhale here, pressing down through that fist if you have your hands interlaced. And then on our exhale, we'll undo the clasp of the hands. Start to roll down from the top of the spine all the way down to the bottom. And we'll windshield wiper our knees from side to side a little bit, back and forth here. And we'll start to draw the knees up in towards the chest. We'll take another round of our twists like in the beginning of class, but this time we'll keep our knees together and kind of stay into your ball formation. So you'll start to drop both knees over to the right. Gaze over your left shoulder, and your spine is still curled up like a ball rather than before when we had a little bit of a longer spine. And take another inhale breath here. On your exhale, start to draw your knees back through center. We'll let them fall over to the other side, staying a little bit rounded in our spine. Gazing over the opposite shoulder. Coming back to your breath. Feeling yourself start to slow down here. And we'll come back through center. And finishing out our practice, we'll take happy baby pose, reaching in between your knees for the outsides or the insides of your feet. Drawing your knees wide towards your armpits. And you'll keep the back of your head down on the mat. Reaching the tailbone in that same direction. Letting your lower back lower down. Or if there's another pose that you prefer to finish out your practice with, feel free to take it here. You can rock your baby from side to side. Or around in circles, giving yourself a little bit of a massage. And we'll draw ourselves back in through center, giving yourself a nice big hug. Feeling yourself grounded, supported by the earth. Inhaling here. And exhaling right back to where we started in our most grounding pose of all. We'll take our Savasana. If you prefer a standard Savasana with your palms facing up, receiving new energy, we'll keep the hands up towards the sky. If you still would like a little bit more grounding in your practice, maybe having a lot of anxiety, travel, stress in your own life, we'll turn the palms face down in a gesture of slowing down and reconnecting with ourselves. Feel free to stay in your Savasana as long as you can. Enjoy it as much as you can. The more you've been drawn to a grounding practice, the more you probably need it. So come up when you're ready. If you like, we'll make our way up into a seated position at the top of your mat. We'll have our eyes closed and bring our hands together to connect at heart center. We'll take a deep inhale through the nose. Exhaling it out the mouth. Thank you so much for watching one of my first yoga videos ever. So tell me what you liked, tell me what you didn't like. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you being here or being there. Namaste.